This CKNW podcast is brought to you by Destination Toyota in Burnaby, your neighborhood Toyota store.
This is Province columnist Mike Smith. It's my pleasure to fill in for Bill Good today. Let's talk about drug prevention now, and particularly crystal meth. And a new anti-crystal methamphetamine campaign features graphic before and after mugshots of the users. The campaign is entitled The Horrors of Methamphetamines. It was launched by rehabs.com. It shows the physical self-destruction of the drug when people get hooked on it. And I've been checking out these ads this morning. This stuff is horrifying. You take a look at these ads, it's unbelievable, because what they do is they will take some pictures of people before they got hooked on crystal meth and then show a series of pictures as they're booked for crimes in a series of mugshots. And it shows the deterioration that the people suffer as they go along through their addiction. Holes dug in their faces, rotting teeth, weight gain, sunken eyes. It's very, very graphic. Does this type of shocking anti-drug advertisement work? Can it help people who are addicted to the drugs now, or maybe more importantly, prevent people from trying crystal meth in the first place? Let's talk to David Pavlus about this interesting campaign. He's the executive director of the Last Door Recovery Society. How you doing, David?
Not bad.
Thank you for coming on. What do you think of these ads?
I think they're good. I think anything that creates awareness helps.
Yeah, when you take a look at it, what are your thoughts when you look at these ads? I mean, you help people all the time who are hooked on terrible drugs. But when you see some of these pictures, like, man, this is just tragic, some of this stuff. I mean, you see people, young people who look like normal faces on people, and then they just go through this terrible addiction. Well, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I see people like that all the time, and I mean, one of the downsides of this business, I'll see somebody come in when they're younger, and if they don't take it serious and make changes, then I get to see them, a few years later, and, that's pretty much the norm. And, like the ads in particular, one of the things about it that I realized that if it does help with prevention, like if anybody sees it and makes the choice to not go in that direction, the funny thing about prevention, if it works, nothing happens. So it's a hard thing to justify and prove, right? Once somebody's addicted, those pictures, every addict, in the beginning stages and even in the chronic stages, they all have the same kind of logic. It won't happen to me, right?
Right. What are the impacts of crystal meth addiction? What happens to people?
Well, the best way to describe it and the simplest is you go insane. Like, common sense and values and families and love and all the good stuff that makes life worth living goes out the window, and you end up in a position where, as best, you might want relief. And the negativity and the physical deterioration and the emotional and spiritual pain that you go through is just another reason to keep using more drugs.
Right. These type of ads is kind of a shock and awe approach to crystal meth and trying to, I guess, scare people straight into not trying these drugs in the first place. And I defy anyone to take a look at these photos and see what they think. But man, oh man, if you show an ad like this to an addict now, I mean, it's not going to have any effect on them, is it? I mean, once this drug has got your hooks into you, how difficult is it to kick it?
Because like once you've started, you've gone insane, so the obvious doesn't seem obvious. So would it have much of an impact? Maybe really early on, because they're still in that denial stage. It's not that bad. I'm not like that. It's like drive somebody down Hastings Street when they're young. They're not going to say, hey, I want to hang out down here, And I don't think many people that are down there are from there. And the funny thing about this drug in particular, I get a lot of working guys where it's to do long days, longer shifts. They go into it, pretty naive, and some of them, in my assessments, they're not addicts before they do this drug. They're, take it or leave it kind of guys. They party once in a while. And once they get into this drug, it starts to change them.
Okay, these ads, I think, would probably be most effective to be shown to people who obviously are not addicted now. I mean, this would stop someone from trying the drug.
It could
Do you
have
think?
that effect. The younger, the better, too. You know, the whole thing about awareness and, you know, people make choices. I remember when we were kids, they showed us a movie called Reefer Madness. Well, they showed us that movie while we were smoking pot. And, you know, we just thought it was a joke. These days, there's more sophisticated. The kids are more sophisticated. Like, there's movies out there called, like, Never Get Out of the Boat and Requiem for a Dream. I remember I went to the premiere of that movie, and when the lights came on at the end of the movie, there's 300 people sitting there not talking. It was a big impact, right? Mm-hmm. So it creates awareness, right? Because they show the truth of it. They don't glorify it. It's not hip, slick, and cool. It isn't going to be the answer to your problems, especially with that drug in particular.
Well, kids today are sophisticated, right? I mean, they've got a pretty sophisticated, tuned BS detector. Yeah. Let's say, you know, and it's not easy to put things over on kids these days. I mean, you know, Reefer Madness, I mean, you know, it's kind of comical when we think about that approach today.
Yeah.
But these pictures, I mean, these ads, you know, I mean, there's a saying that a picture's worth 1,000 words, man. If you take a look at these pictures, I mean, they're graphic, but maybe they need to be graphic.
Yeah, well, it's the truth of the deal. It's not a social drug, you know. The impact is there. If you show it to young kids, you know, they've already been affected by TV. But if you show it to them, you know, there should be a conversation like, this is the reality of this, right? You know, and then if it prevents one kid from doing it, it was worth trying. I mean, I think everything works a bit, and, you know, some things will work for some people and they won't work for others.
There have been some graphic anti-smoking campaigns over the years. That have been controversial, that I think have also been effective, you know, showing people graphic photos of cancer victims and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. You know, like the advertisement on the cigarette packs right to the advertisements on TV, and here we are. You know, some of that started 15 years ago where there's a different awareness. You can't smoke in restaurants. You can't, you know, there's been a change, and it's part of it for sure.
Right. When you help people, David, what is the usual routine for someone who's hooked on, let's say, crystal meth? Okay, how do you help people who are addicted?
The beginning is just a little bit of normal living, like eating and sleeping and resting and some medical health. And I mean, some people are so hatched you'd never think they would come back from it. And, you know, usually 30 days they're feeling better. By 90 days, sometimes you couldn't even tell they were ever out there in that mess. And, you know, some of them have gone down a fair long way. That it's normal living. It's affection, love, family. It's you know, we use a community approach and get people back to normal. And if they haven't had normal, you get them around normal. You know?
Now, does Last Door Recovery, you guys offer sort of residential kind of services?
Yeah, people stay with us, you know, 3 months to a year. You know, quit smoking, eat good, exercise, get healthy, and first of all, find out what addiction is, but really to study what recovery is all about. You know, to take the time to get well and really not just slow it down like a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, but to actually stop addiction in your life. And I mean, the change is dramatic. It's as dramatic as those pictures in the other direction.
And do you recover from the insanity, as you put it?
Well, yeah, the insanity is you just get used to it. As addiction progresses in your life, you think to yourself, how could somebody live like that? You get used to it, and then, like I say, once you're used to it, the pain's just a reason to go farther into it, and you know it becomes a cycle. To get out of it, you have to stop. You have to stop using. You have to, you know, whatever stops somebody, family, friends, intervention, you know, quit for Santa Claus. It doesn't matter. But once you've stopped, you can be restored to sanity. They start feeling good again and making friends and, you know, all the things that make life worth living, right?
Okay. What should be done at the downtown east side? You mentioned, you know, the terrible situation there. What do you think we should be doing?
To stop all of that?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
where do you start? I mean, we've been talking about those issues forever.
Yeah.
But where do you begin?
Yeah, I know. Helping people get clean, like get back to sanity, like that stop part once they're stopped. I mean, I work with some guys that come out of there, and they can't believe they were ever down there. And part of it's to get out, to get somewhere safe, to get help, to take the time. You know, the real crazy part of it is you could take somebody from as the worst pitcher in that pile, if they're still alive, help them get back to sanity and health. And I mean, even sometimes they could put a year into that, and they'll still go back to it. That's why regular people think it's like you're crazy and you won't get better.
Where do you stand on the supervised injection site? What do you think of that?
I've never been there.
What's your position on it?
Well, I guess the logic of it is you have to save somebody's life before you can help them, and some people are so far down that literally that's all you can do is save their life. Once that happens, then there has to be a road out of that mess to where, you can, once you're impaired, you're on that drug, you're not going to get better. So I believe in recovery and abstinence, and, I've seen like the worst of the worst. And I also, on the other end, I've seen like working guys and family guys where you don't have to lose everything, that you can stop it at any point. Don't wait till you're down there, and because I've seen people from every walk of life and every drug get better, I have some strong beliefs about it. Get back to community and common sense. To be, how'd you like to be happy? Sort of option out your life a little bit, right?
Okay, David. Let's take a break there. We'll come back and talk more with David Pavlus from the Last Door Recovery Society. Let's talk about some of these addiction issues now. Phone me up and have your say on this. I often talk to people, what's the solution to the downtown east side problem? A lot of people think that the supervised injection sites are just enabling people to do drugs. I think what you need is a suite of solutions. Okay, the supervised injection site is one thing, but you need rehab, man. You need to help people get off these drugs if they want to get off the drugs. I've heard people say that the only way someone will go into recovery is when they've hit absolute rock bottom and they got nowhere else to go except maybe death's door. But there's other ways for people to get saved and to recover as well. Like David said, through people intervening, for example. Phone me up and have your say about addiction. 604-280-9898 is the number to call me. Toll free, 1-877-399-9898, star 9898 on your cell. Your call's next. Welcome back to the show. Talking about addiction with David Pavlus from the Last Door Recovery Society. 604-280-9898. Let's go to Devin on the open line. Hi, Devin.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
So, yeah, I've been an addict, and I work with addicts. I've been working with addicts since I was 13, volunteering and in the downtown Surrey core. So while I agree with some of the things that Dave had to say, I disagree that recovery is for everybody, first of all, and secondly, that you have to hit rock bottom, because I never did. I went to a funeral of a man who's a good friend of mine who had my name. And I stood there and I listened to everybody say goodbye, Devin, and I'm going, I'm standing right here, but he wasn't. He had overdosed and he had died. And for me, that was my rock bottom. It wasn't like lying in a corner somewhere wanting to die. It was literally hearing my name at somebody else's funeral and realizing that I was still here and I had the chance to make better for my life. And I've done that. And I did majority of my recovery on my own.
Okay, so that was your moment.
That was
the funeral for a friend.
That was my moment.
Wow.
That was my moment.
What kind of drugs were you hooked on?
I was a pill popper, and I was an alcoholic, and I really enjoyed mixing the two of them. I really liked PCP. That was fun for a while. That was very fun.
Are you totally clean now?
I am totally clean.
How long have you been sober?
I have been on and off for a couple of months, but I am now officially 3 days clean and sober completely.
What do you think needs to be done? What do we need?
Dave's going to disagree with me, and he's going to get a little bit offended, and I mean no offense to him whatsoever, because I've heard of Last Door, and they do a phenomenal job. I think that the cities of Vancouver and Burnaby, New West, Surrey, they need to start setting an example, and they need to start deciding what is acceptable in terms of what recovery houses need to be doing to help people. A lot of recovery houses are not run, the government's not paying attention to them. It's $1 billion a year business. I could start a recovery house out of my apartment tomorrow, and nobody's going to come to my door and say, hey, you're running an illegal business, and we're going to take you away. There are recovery houses that are really phenomenal, like the Last Door. There's Pathway to Freedom, which is another phenomenal recovery house. And then there are places that I'm not going to name that are not being watched, where guys go in and women go in, they get raped, they get put out on the street, their welfare checks are taken from them. They're going in thinking that they're going to get help, and they end up being given drugs. Once they've run out of money, they're kicked right back out on the streets. And then on top of that, they now have to pay back what they owe, because the guys running the house have been giving them drugs so that they can get them further and further into their
David, what do you think about what you're hearing here?
Well, I agree with her. The other part is I'm not sure about the rock bottom thing. I sort of lately have seen say about half the people I know quit before they hit rock bottom. It's just to make a choice where there's help available, and I think everything works to some degree. And as soon as you decide to do something about it, that's the bottom. And, hopefully people don't have to wait till they're like beaten to the floor, right? And more that as people do recovery, and when I say recovery, I just mean like enjoy life, be happy, feel better, live a life worth living. I'm not defining it as some specific kind of treatment idea. Once people live that way, we become examples of recovery. Like I don't struggle to stay clean. I haven't used it's coming up 30 years this year, and
so you're a recovering addict yourself?
Yeah, 30 years. And when I was in the downtown east side, and when I reached out for help, I met people, it's kind of like the wounded healer theory. I bumped into people who wanted to help me, and I agree with her. I went to a program in the city called Turning Point. Dinner hit the table. People cared that you were there. And then from there, I just made my own choices. And we've tried to integrate that into our program to where, you get people back to their families and common sense, and you got to offer them something better, like an answer, but they still have to make the choice, right?
Let's get another call in here. Let's go to Alex on the open line. Hi, Alex.
Hey, how you doing today?
Good.
I just have an opinion. I mean, downtown and stuff, you see a lot of addicts, and I feel for all of them. I understand, what your guest is saying, and it totally makes sense.
Okay, make your point for me, because we're just running short on time.
For me, I really think it should be forced upon them in order to get their head clear enough to understand that they need to make a change. So the last time I checked, drugs are illegal. If they catch someone downtown doing drugs, lock them up, get them clean. Then from there they can assess their mental well-being. A lot of people downtown are mentally ill. So, and once they are clean, then they might be able to make a good choice. But
okay, David, we got 30. Thanks for a good call. We got 30 seconds, David. Should people be committed?
Well, in some cases, yeah, when, they're killing themselves and people around them, sure. Yeah. But nothing's a one-shot deal for everybody. It's going to be a little different for everybody. There needs to be, spend the money on the people that want to do recovery. Don't spend the money on people that want to stay loaded.
Okay.
The worse it is why it's terrible. It's why I stopped.
David, thank you for a good discussion.
For sure.
I appreciate it. David Pavlus, the Last Door Recovery Society. We'll end it on a bit of a lighter note when we come back at the bottom of the hour. Let's talk about Christmas parties. Yeah, I think we could all use a little talk about some Christmas parties. Or how about a Christmas bonus? At Christmas time, does anybody get a bonus anymore? Remember that? You get a bonus from your boss, a great Christmas party from the company you work for. A lot of companies have scaled back because of tough times. Talk about all those issues coming up. Stick around. All right, there you go. Yeah, that's some good cheesy Christmas music. Whatever happened to the Christmas bonus? Have you ever got a Christmas bonus ever in your life? You ever had your boss say, come on to the office and slap you on the back and say you did a great job this year, and here's a little something special for you and your family, a nice check? Even a Christmas turkey. Remember employers used to give away a Christmas turkey at Christmas time? Heck, how about a Christmas party? Ever since the economic decline of 2008, a lot of companies just outright canceled Christmas parties, and a lot of those Christmas parties never came back. Let's talk to Christian Codrington about that, senior manager at BC Human Rights Management Association. Hi.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Did you get a bonus this year?
Pardon me?
Did you get a Christmas bonus this year?
I work for a not-for-profit association, so no. We had a wonderful lunch last week, though.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do many people get a Christmas bonus this year, or is this becoming kind of like going the way of the dodo bird?
Well, I think that many companies are finding a way to reinforce behavior through any sort of performance bonus, whether it's Christmas or throughout the year. It really depends on whether the company's making their targets or not. So.
Yeah, but a lot of companies have done, well, they started doing really bad when the recession hit. We're in a very slow recovery. I suspect a lot of people just saw those bonuses go away if they ever got one to begin with.
Well, and I think, again, that makes sense for the company at the time. And if the company's not making its goals, then the bonus is something on top of the pay. That comes when the company makes those goals. We are starting to see companies starting to bring those back as they start meeting their targets. So, yeah, it's slow, but it's coming for some.
How about a Christmas party? I got a feeling a lot of offices and employers canceled Christmas parties back when the recession hit, and I know some companies have brought parties back, maybe a smaller party than what they had in the past, but what's your experience there?
Well, I think the party, I think, is a piece of a larger puzzle, and it's just trying to find a way to continuously communicate, sort of reinforce and thank your staff. And whether that's a party or something a little more formal throughout the year, I think many companies are realizing that the party, for example, it's a hard thing to measure the effects, and simply cutting it to save costs may have longer-term consequences around staff morale and sort of connection to the workplace.
Well, that's what I want to get into a little bit with you, Christian, because it occurred to me that a lot of employers may have canceled a Christmas party a few years ago. Maybe that party never came back. Maybe it was a smaller, kind of cheaper version of the party than before. I mean, do you think this is, obviously employers have got to watch their bottom line. These are tough times. But do you think when you do stuff like that, maybe cut a bonus, cut a Christmas party, it has an impact on your staff? I mean, how important is this kind of stuff for morale?
It certainly is hard to measure, but I think of one particular firm I'm familiar with who spent lavishly on their staff party years ago, and simply put, they had to cut. It was just an extraordinary expense, and they put it to a vote to their staff, and it was continue the party at this cost, or can we save money and give you all gift cards at quite a bit less. And staff voted for the gift cards. And it was kind of interesting. So you stop the lavish party, and then you go up to the office administrator and pick up your gift card, put a check mark beside your name. The next year, the feedback was pretty sort of loud. We missed the party. It's an opportunity for us to get dressed up, have a good time, for our spouses to meet some of our coworkers. The gift certificate just didn't cut it in that way. Now, were people quitting? No. But it certainly did allow people to get more sort of sense of community to their workplace.
Okay, interesting. And did the party return?
The party has not returned, no.
How important is a Christmas party, do you think? I think for a lot of places. I remember working at places in the past years where people really looked forward to that annual Christmas party, and it was a good bonding experience for everybody who worked together.
Well, I think you've sort of hit on a couple of things. That sense of ceremony and tradition are really important. And whether or not it's a party or something to look forward to, allow employees to get a sense of who they are outside of work. Because keep in mind, work is a little community, a mini community. Right. And when you can find ways to get to know each other and connect around the workplace, things like doing work become a little bit easier.
Right. And how about, this all gets down to recognition, I suppose. I guess a Christmas party is a way for employees to get together and bond together and enjoy their own company, but it's also an expression from an employer or management that we appreciate your efforts, and this is kind of a thank you to you. How important is it to recognize your employees?
I think you've hit probably the nail on the head there when it comes to just sort of formalized recognition. There's a variety of ways to do that throughout a year, and the more formal things can include, let's say, a performance review. The more informal pieces could be something like some staff celebration or a Christmas party. And these parties can often be a way for the employer to simply communicate, reinforce, and reward, if you will, and let people know, how the company's doing, the role that the employee plays in helping the company get to its goals, and again, recognizing them for their efforts. So great opportunity that shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah, because how important is that to the operation of any enterprise or company, that you have employees that are appreciated, or if they do good work, they get some positive feedback, they get some recognition. Obviously that's going to help the product, perhaps the productivity of that company. It's going to help the company's performance.
I think that one person asked me a little while ago, boy, the workplaces are changed. I remember when I used to simply come to work, get paid, and go home. Well, I think the workplace has become a little more complex. And the staff recognition, the parties, the performance review, all these sort of ways to communicate, recognize, and reinforce behaviors help employees stay connected, and then in turn increase productivity, lower turnover, and, if you will, help employees stay, the term that we use a lot is engaged in the workplace.
All right, Christian, here's what we'll do. We'll take a break at that point, come back with more with Christian Codrington. Now, here's what I want to do. Let's get some phone calls going here, because I'd love to hear from you. Phone me up and tell me, Does your company have a Christmas party every year? How important is it for you to get together at an office party with your coworkers every year? Maybe you've had a situation where you work in a job where your party was canceled. Maybe it's been scaled back. Phone me up and tell me what you think about that. A Christmas bonus. Does anyone out there get a Christmas bonus these days? Or is that just completely extinct? Phone me up and tell me about that and tell me how important it is to you. 604-280-9898 is the number to call. Toll free, 1-877-399-9898, star 9898 on your cell. Your call's coming up. All right, welcome back. Talking about Christmas parties, Christmas bonuses with Christian Codrington, BC Human Resources Management Association. 604-280-9898. Toll free, 1-877-399-9898, star 9898 on your cell. Did you ever see that movie, Christian, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Yeah, it's an annual tradition in my house.
Clark Griswold. Remember, he was going to take his Christmas bonus and buy a swimming pool. But did you remember what his bonus was?
No, I can't remember the details.
A subscription to the Jelly of the Month Club.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you.
It didn't work out for him. 604-280-9898. Let's go to John in the open line. Hi, John.
Oh, hi there. Yeah, a couple things. One is I've never actually had the bonus or Christmas party ever stopped, and I don't know anybody who actually has. So I'm not exactly sure where all this doom and gloom is coming from. And secondly,
I know some parties that have been canceled.
Okay, but I just don't see it. It's not widespread across the board. I don't feel that. And secondly, if you work in the private sector and you work hard and you produce your numbers, the company should and always does have a bonus or some sort of a recognition at the end of it for. So it really comes down to you work hard, you get rewarded for it, not just showing up and assuming that you're going to get that.
Right. And how important is that to you and your coworkers, do you think?
Oh, it's very important. I have coworkers across the province, so we always get together, and it's great to get everybody under one roof. So that's what's a big part of it.
Okay, Christian, on that point, like he was saying, look, the bonus should reflect your effort, and the good job that you've done. You don't want to get in a situation where people just expect it's just part of their normal compensation.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head there. Again, the bonus is a bonus on top of one's sort of pay. And, I'm a firm believer, and you'll find a lot of structure around bonus plans where they're tied to company results. So one, the company needs to make a certain target to start with. And then the employees, per se, then get paid based on their efforts or their goals towards achieving those targets. So,
right. So you've got to have, there's got to be some sort of measurable or something. Is, hey, you've done a good job. You got a bonus. The party's part of it. I guess it gets down to basic psychology, right? And you're trying to motivate people.
Well, and the most important piece around these types of bonuses is that they can't be seen to be arbitrary. People need to know the goals going in and how to get them.
Let's go to Jeff on the open line. Hi, Jeff.
Merry Christmas, Mike.
Yeah, same to you.
Hey, I've always worked in trades. I've never been in an office or any environment kind of like that. But I couldn't care less about a Christmas party. The only way you can show that you appreciate my work is to put more zeros on my paycheck. So, lots of the places that I've worked, we do get performance incentives and bonuses, and usually we get a little bonus at Christmas time.
Okay, but you would prefer a raise.
Oh, hey, if the only way you can show that you appreciate my work in what I do is if you got money to spend on a Christmas party, you got money to put more numbers on my paycheck.
Christian,
your caller brings up a great point. Recognition is different for everybody. And, we talked about bonuses as well as parties and part of a larger strategic recognition process. So not everybody wants to go get dressed up and go dancing. Many people would prefer to have a little extra coin in their pocket to pay off some Christmas bills. So it's really important that any recognition program fit the employee base.
Okay. Do you think some managers or some employers just forget this stuff and they're not doing it well?
Yeah, I think so. And it's easy to take this stuff for granted. And that's why we need to be really cognizant of the people in the workplace and sort of the human resources, we'll call it the plan, around how to strategically hire, fire, engage, keep them motivated throughout the year, plan for their replacement. It's part of a larger process and planning around your people.
Right, and especially keeping good people. I mean, in a tight labor market, too. I mean, to keep the good people on your staff and not lose them. Yeah, that's an important bottom line for any company.
And I think it's also important to keep the people that fit your culture, whether or not they're one person might be good in one environment and not so good in another environment. So all of that really anchors the importance of a good people plan.
Christian, thanks for coming on the show today.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
I appreciate it a lot. That is Christian Codrington. He's at the BC Human Resources Management Association. All right, we've had a busy show today, and we had a ton of calls in the open line on a whole bunch of different topics, and I know a lot of people are trying to get through, and I suspect we had a few calls to the listener line as well. So let's take a final break in the show, come back and talk to Jessica Garris. We'll find out what the listeners thought about today's program. That's next. All right, Jessica Garris is the producer of The Bill Good Show, and she's here now. Hi, Jess.
Hi, Mike. Well, as you can imagine, people are talking about gun control. We discussed that in our Monday morning quarterback segment, and we also heard from Cameron Reddy. He's a gun rights advocate, and he really got the phone lines going. He really made some of our listeners light their hair on fire just because his frame of mind obviously is so different from ours when it comes to guns. And this is what a few of our listeners had to say.
You know, regarding this tragic incident down in the United States on Friday, you know, it's tragic, and unfortunately the reality of it is it's going to happen again. We have a feeble gun law in that country. You can buy a gun easier than a can of pop. We have social issues in Canada and around the world where we have mental health issues that are not properly being addressed. Look at that fellow in downtown Vancouver a week or so ago that beat up those 3 women. Can you imagine if he'd had a gun? And we also live in a world completely filled and poisoned with violence. Violent movies, violent video games, and these kids are watching this. For all we know, that kid that went into that school, for him, he was so mentally unstable and no help. For him, it could have, for all we know, it could have been a video game. And, you know, there's more than one problem here. There's a social structure of problem that's breaking and failing. And there's more than one issue other than the guns that has to be addressed. And unless we do, it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen more often.
With regard to this gun control thing, I don't think that the founding fathers in the U.S., when they made that law about the right to bear arms, back then they were using little muskets that had to be reloaded and all that kind of stuff. I don't think they really had in mind semi-automatic weapons that could shoot hundreds of bullets in seconds as having to be bearing the right to bear arms with those types of weapons. It's time to ban assault rifles altogether to the public. End of story.
I think that there are a lot of cowards in the United States, cowards who feel that they have to have a gun to protect themselves.
Mike, the gun culture in the U.S. is just hard for us to even comprehend.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think it's one of the fundamental differences between America and Canada. You know, and I think that was reflected in the calls that we received.
I think so
to Cameron
too.
Reddy.
And I mean, he's probably shocked with our culture that we don't have a pistol in our, in our bedroom, or we don't have it, in our nightside table.
Maybe
that's probably strange to him.
Yeah, he probably can't understand why people are so angry, and people phoning up and challenging him on his opinion. But I got an email during one of the breaks, Jessica, saying, "Oh, why you got this guy on there? Look, this guy is not some fringe dweller on American opinion on this topic." When you talk about the gun culture in the United States, I mean, people love to shoot guns down there and collect guns, and the personal protection people and the militia types who think they got to protect themselves from the government. This is not like fringe stuff.
No.
It's a lot of people believe in this.
And it's a very newsworthy conversation to be having right now. President Obama, in his speech after the vigil last night, he made note. He didn't directly talk about gun control, but he did say that things have to change.
Yeah.
So it's
fascinating
definitely
to watch it.
newsworthy. And tomorrow, Mike, We're going to cover the highly anticipated Missing Women Commission of Inquiry report that is going to be released within the hour. Will the report create change and make a difference, or will it just be shelved? And we're also going to discuss our gun control laws here in Canada. Have our laws become considerably more relaxed over the years? And our civic affairs panel will be here to discuss the top civic stories of 2012, Mike.
Sounds great, Jessica. Thanks a lot. That's Jessica Garris, a producer of The Bill Good Show. Susie Hill helped produce the show as well. Chad Bruhog was at the controls. My name is Mike Smith. Please check out my column in the Province newspaper. Keep it locked right here. You got the major news to noon with Gord McDonald coming up and Simi Sarah. Meet you back here tomorrow. Take care.